I know, the way I write these articles, they're sort of provocative because I hate to publish something which people will just read and toss the paper and forget all about it. So, I try to provoke people, even if it's going to offend them, at least some kind of reaction, please. And then people often tend to judge these articles by the emotional experience they had when reading them, rather than with the arguments that were presented in the articles. That's not good. And this is the crux of the consumer society, that unwillingly, most of us have been turned into carrots. Consumers. Consumer units, where we judge things by how they feel rather than how much sense they make. Even philosophy. And this is truly scary. There's a beautiful. Is this a new issue?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. There's a beautiful article written in their Simple Spiritual Lifestyle in the Face of Consumerism, and it says there. I mean, we should be very concerned, if this kind of zeitgeist governs our lives. Do you all know what zeitgeist means? It's a German word. They even made a movie, Zeitgeist. Zeitgeist means the spirit of the age. In other words, whenever you live in a certain time, in a certain period, in a certain cultural, social environment, you tend to imbibe these values unless you deliberate. Unless you critically think of these values, you tend to just embrace them. Because the tendency is to conform to the society. And since politics and politicians mainly concerns, or since politics mainly concerns itself with economic development, that's the attitude that we imbibe. So critical thinking is crucial for qualifying oneself as a fully developed human being. Any comments?
What do you think the politicians should be concerned about then? What should their, instead of economy, how tell everyone, hey, spirituality?
Spirituality will naturally come about if people are thoughtful.
Yeah.
So I'm not saying that people, I certainly say people should be spiritually oriented, but people should themselves arrive to that conclusion.
But what role do you think the politics should play? Do you believe there should be politics?
Excuse me, can you say that?
What role do you think politics should play?
I didn't hear that word.
Do you think there should be politics? What kind of
Okay, I'll
politics?
turn up the mic so we're all equal.
Okay.
Democracy in action. In my opinion, politics should certainly concern itself with economic development, but it should certainly not place it in the primary seat. Primary concern should be philosophy. In other words, things like, why do we believe things we believe, and why are we concerning ourselves primarily with economy? Did anyone ever thought about that? Or democracy? We talk about democracy so much. Democracy is impossible on material platform. Democracy was introduced. Democracy is a religious product. It's a spiritual product. Because you cannot, if you talk about equality, where do you see equality? She's how you're not supposed to ask a woman how what's in no, not age, but weight. But you have certain weight, I have a different weight. We have, we're different physically. Every single person is different. You won't find two identical noses in the universe, let alone the rest of our bodies and intellects and minds. And so, what's democracy based upon?
The majority.
What's that?
The majority.
Yeah, but still, if you talk about democracy, that means that you and I are equal and should be given equal opportunity, which intrinsically, which inherently we all feel like we shouldn't be discriminated. I mean, the word discrimination is mind-boggling and uncomfortable, you know. But what is it based upon? Equality should be based on real things, not imaginary things. So, you know, what are we? Where's our equality? We're equal only spiritually. Materially, we're all different. Most certainly. Yes.
So,
is that cool?
Yeah.
Okay.
So are you saying that the leaders of this world should be philosophers who make unbiased decisions and who have introspection and the ability to see the
most
world
part,
beyond the physical?
Like for example, the founding fathers of this country were all educated philosophers. And if you read, for example, what's the Declaration called of Independence?
Is it?
No. For a sec, I forgot. You know, the next moment, I remembered. Sometimes I speak as I think. Takes practice to do that. You usually tend to think faster than you can speak. That's a perfectly philosophically formatted document. Whereas in modern times, I mean, it's mind-boggling the philosophical insophistication or lack of sophistication of statements and documents produced. It's just like you read that and you're scared. I'm concerned. So I mean, you know, one of the things that we teach here is people should learn to think critically, objective critical thinking. Even everything I say here, it's up for questioning. That's a stupid question, but it should be. Critical means, you know, intelligent questioning. Yeah, so certainly they should be philosophers, as previously they were. And not only in this country, but all over the world. Further back in history you go. That's another thing that we're taught in modern days, that we're at the pinnacle of human development, which is just absolutely funky thing to think.
I agree with you that, you know, these you know, the leaders of the world, of this world, should be philosophers, but it's such an esoteric, you know, I guess thing to explore, that it's so many people find a hard time understanding it. So it's so open to being, you know, critiqued and judged. So the question is, you know, how do we properly implement something like this into our society, you know, so that the masses who are not open or able to do self-introspection or can comprehend it on the level that most of us who have spent so much time, you know, practicing, you know, this.
Yeah, just not to take too much time, because we like to, I mean, at least I like to keep it brief, so, but how do we do it? I have no clue. This is a runaway train, and I see not going in the right direction. You know, usually it's going downhill and it's going faster, and I mean.
That's the point you're trying to make, though, that we want to incorporate philosophical minds into into the leaders of this world. But the question is, how are we, who are willing to do it, going to, you know, push for this?
I don't know. I mean, there's a great book I read.
We can start with 16 rounds, I guess.
Yeah. There's a great book I read. It's called From Good to Great. Okay, and there's two parts to it. One deals with business world, and the other one with what you call it, with social. What do I call them? Social. What would you call them?
Units? Values?
Units, values. No.
Norms?
Socially trained concepts?
Like non-profit organizations?
You know, things like you have businesses on one side, and then you have you know, churches, mosques, temples, sport clubs, cultural organizations. What would you put them all together in?
Subculture.
Cultures, yeah. They're the social sectors. You just call them social sectors. Actually, as a matter of fact, he calls them social sectors. The guy who wrote the book. So, in this book, Social Sectors, it deals with social sectors from good to great. And it's a very interesting book. Very interesting book. It's a small, tiny book. In one of the business sectors, it's very complicated, very thick. One of the social sectors is very thin. It's like a 2-hour read, you know. And okay, so he examined a lot of social sectors, such as churches, police department, schools, cultural departments, and organizations, and then he examined these sectors that went from good to great, because most sectors, they just continue on the great platform. You know, they just continue, you know, average. But it studied this point in which a group went from good to great. And then he studied it, and what makes them to go from good to great. And one very important aspect that he gives in there is that don't fail to create pockets of excellence. In other words, we all have our own pockets of influence. I mean, I have no influence on world politics, not even on California politics, not even San Diego, not even PB politics. You know, like zero, close to zero, perhaps. But I do have a certain pocket of influence, and then within that pocket, I'm striving for excellence. Because sometimes we get so bogged down and depressed by what's going on around that we just give in, you know, and just hopeless, you know. But no, we all have our own pockets of influence. And within our own pockets, we should strive for excellence. Number one, ourselves. Number two, whatever, I mean, you know, a few of us got together and we're producing a newspaper. I mean, every few months, you know, 30,000 copies get issued in San Diego. Not a whole lot, but not insignificant. I get emails all the time from people who read it. So, you know, lounge, open the lounge, you know. I mean, different things, you know. You see what pockets of excellence, you know. And there are many other things, you know, but not many. He recommends about 10 or 12 different things there that he noticed that makes folks go from good to great. But pockets of excellence, yeah. Are there any burning comments or questions? Otherwise, I'd like to terminate the conversation.